you can't help but listen to all the responsibilities without just really being kind of taken aback by it. There's so many things, and Michael's going to reach out to some folks that can come in and help him to build a stronger team. But I have to tell all of you that this is going to be a difficult budget. I do not believe that, and Michael and I have talked about this, we can't tax ourselves to prosperity. We can't put this off any longer because we're losing too many jobs. You know, I was just meeting with our Medicaid folks the other day, and as unemployment goes up, the rolls go up. As unemployment comes down, the rolls come down. So if we remain not competitive, we can't get the companies to come here and stay here. Look, I see it every day. But I also know that we cannot cut our way to prosperity. We can't do that either. But we have to set the stage for Ohio to be competitive so that we can be in a position to grow jobs in this state. If we can grow jobs in this state, then a rising tide is going to lift all boats. I was in Cincinnati yesterday. Michael and an African American talked about the need to train workers in construction. He said, we need more African Americans working in construction. So there are jobs out there that are not filled because we haven't trained people adequately. I mean, shame on us, right? That's something we ought to be on and something we can fix. But as we go through this period and this next fiscal year, it's going to be the toughest one. Year after that will still be a challenge, but I believe that our toughest year is going to be this next fiscal year. And we just have to work together, because this is our moment in time to get this place stabilized. You know, what's happened is we've put off a lot of tough decisions. I think to some degree for political reasons. It's just easy to be in office. You know, kind of during good times, I think it's probably pretty easy to be a governor. I don't think it's ever easy to be a good governor, because you can take a lot of heat, you can get a lot of criticism, but you can't be deterred from your mission. So when you're sitting at your desk and you find out you're not going to have all the resources you want, and you can throw a dart at it, put my picture up and throw a dart at it, I'm okay with that. But understand that I'm sensitive to the clients. I want them to have a better tomorrow. And I believe their ability to get a job is what's going to give them the best opportunity to have a better tomorrow. And so hang in there with us. We'll be unveiling a budget, I think, in about 40 days. It gives us a chance to do things differently. One final thing I want to say. There's a tendency sometimes in life to separate yourself from the big shots, the ones that get to speak at the podium. See, I don't buy that. I think that every single individual has a special calling. You're all important. Every one of you that delivers services is important. You don't know how you help one person and change their lives. I had this little Rosie come in to see me. I had the 4th grade, Michael, from Windermere School, and I just stumbled into him, and I asked them all to come into the governor's office, and I got tied up with an hour meeting with the Senate Democratic caucus, and I got an email a couple days later. I called I came out, and it was late, and they were all leaving, and they saw me, and they all kind of came crowding in, except for little Rosie. Little Rosie had somehow, I don't know if she was what she was doing, but she was not there. Her mother sent me an email. She said, my daughter's brokenhearted because she didn't get a chance to see you or meet you. Do you think there's a possibility? Of course there is. I called her, and little Rosie came down to the governor's office. You know, and we had a little, she was precocious. She was kind of telling me what to do. But you know, the interesting part about it is, you never know when something happens to little Rosie that changes her life. And at the end of the day, we don't make an accounting of what titles we had or how much money we had or what kind of a plaque I believe that day when we meet the big guy, as I like to call him, he's going to ask what we did. And everything will count equal to everything else. So I know you're working in a very important area. Do your best. Be patient. Have some faith that our team can move us to a better place. Thank you all for being here today, and congratulations again to Michael. We'll take it. Laura.
Yes, Governor, could you speak to whether or not you've been under a lot of pressure to add minorities to your cabinet? Is one African American enough? Is 4 women enough to count as diversity?
Look, I mean, as I've said all along, diversity is a journey, not a destination. I mean, Michael earned this job. Michael didn't get this job because of his race. I'm excited that he happens to be an African American. But he didn't get it because of that. He got it because of his experience. And he's been in the belly of the beast here, so to speak, and he's learned what's going on. Diversity does matter because it does give you a little bit, and not a little bit, at times a very different point of view. But it's really interesting. I yesterday put out a statement. My legal team is looking at a case of a woman in Akron. I don't know if you're aware of this. I was unaware that the woman was African American when I read the story. This is a woman who claimed that she lived in one place and she didn't, so her children could be put in a setting where she was going to be more comfortable. I don't understand all of it yet, but she was more comfortable that they could be there. And she was ultimately prosecuted and been charged with a felony, and I've asked my legal team to look at it. My wife pointed this out to me, and then as soon as I read the story in the local paper here, an alarm went off in my mind. Friday night, I got a call from Jesse Jackson Jr. Governor Kasich, I'm appealing to you on moral grounds. Governor this, Governor that. I said, Jesse, I thought we were friends. He said, we are, but I think I should call you that. Jesse and I worked together in the Congress. They asked him, apparently on a radio show, why'd you call John Kasich? What compelled you to pick up the phone and call him? Jesse told me, he told him because John's a very fair man. So, I'm sensitive to some of the criticism. I cannot let things bog me down. You heard me talk here about the need to create jobs. But we will have more people of diverse backgrounds in this administration. But I'm always going to search for the best and the brightest and those that share my philosophy. You can't get a bunch of people in that, just, I want to go this way, and no way, we're going that way. I can't have that. That doesn't work. It doesn't build a team. But I'm very pleased that Michael is doing this, and it's good. But, you can't react in jobs like this. You need to be sensitive to it, and I'm glad it's working out here. But we haven't seen the end of efforts inside of our administration to find quality people that share my philosophy who bring more diversity. Michael, anything you want to say?
No, I agree with the governor. I think, my dad always told me, one, you have to be comfortable with who you are. And two, you have to know the job that you're tasked to do. So I am comfortable with who I am. I understand my heritage. I'm very proud of that heritage and very proud of those that have paved the way for me to get here. Additionally, I know the job that I'm doing. I've been doing this for the last 3 years on the financial side. I understand the book of businesses that we need to do to get services to Ohioans, and we'll continue down that path.
One other thing I want to say, and that is I also understand the book of life. And in the book of life, every individual is treated the same. If you do not do that, you pay a price for it. And I take that book of life very seriously. Some call it the book of life. I guess I can call it the Old and the New Testament. It's important. Question?
Governor, building on your, I brought a sweater so you can see it back here. Building on your press conference last night, there is a bill that 2 lawmakers are proposing on calamity days, taking those from 3 to 5.
I've been for 5 calamity days. I've been for, I mean,
Is there a definitive message you can send to lawmakers to make that active?
Well,
This year?
I told Bill Batchelder and Niehaus, I said, you know, I'm for it, we're for it too. I said, you guys ought to put out a joint statement, and look, there's been, the rush of business has probably prevented it, but they're for that, and, you know, and I think, Jim, over time, we need to think about e-education too. You know, the ability to learn from home. It's something, you know, I think we're now in the 21st century. I mean, it's time to be thinking differently. But as I like to say, outside of Daddy, it's Christmas morning, the 2 other great words are snow day. And, you know, there's just, I have to tell you, you know, aren't there some things that just ought to last that are really cool? Do you remember when Mom came in and said, you don't have to go to school today? And what'd you do? You got on the Christmas Story. You remember that? The kid puts the big coat on and the parka and the hood and the hat you can't see and the big gloves. And you take your gloves and you grab the string on the sled. And you pull it to this hill that is so, so steep. And you visit that hill 20 years later, and you go, you say, I thought that hill was a lot bigger. So there's just something about a snow day. I kind of like them, you know. I want snow days for governors. That's what I
Governor, that's the woman that had the situation up in Akron with the education. And,
Right.
What are you going to do about that?
Well, look, you know, one of the things that I've learned from my pal Joe Howard is I know he just shakes his head every time I do a shout out. Just make sure, you know, and my staff as well, make sure you understand all the facts. So we've talked to my legal counsel's talked to the prosecutor. I think they've talked to the school district. We want to make sure that they do a thorough looking at the entire story before I jump. What I'm really, let me tell you, here, you might say, well, what were you thinking? Because, you know, some people would say, well, wait a minute, she didn't do all the things that were proper here. I said, well, wait a minute, if you got a mom and a starving kid and she steals a loaf of bread, do you put her, what is her punishment? It's like Socrates, right? So my inclination is, I mean, were you kidding me? This woman's trying, from everything I've read, trying to improve herself, trying to help her children. Somebody said, is this a Rosa Parks moment? Is this about school vouchers and all that? Ultimately, we ought to discuss it, but it isn't about that. It's about a lady trying to, looks like, protect her children, improve herself, and an improper penalty. So what we can do is just, we're going to examine this, and we do have some alternatives, and we will keep you informed.